what does the China yuanization of the Russian economy mean for the US dollar? This is authored by the Jamestown Foundation via oilprice.com on Zero Hedge. Russian President Vladimir Putin is aiming to fully de-dollarize the Russian economy. Russia is aiming to funds in currencies of so-called friendly countries such as the Chinese yuan. Russia experts fear that with 17% of foreign exchange reserves in yuan, the Kremlin will not be able to pull money promptly when needed, thereby becoming trapped by China. On September 12th, Russian President Vladimir Putin stated that given mounting economic sanctions, full de-dollarization of the Russian economy is only a matter of time. This according to RBC September 12. Putin's remark was preceded by a statement from Russia Deputy Finance Minister Alexei Moiseev, who argued that Russia no longer needs the US dollar as a reserve currency. Instead, Russia must accumulate funds in currencies of so-called friendly countries such as the Chinese yuan, which is playing a key role in this regard, RBC September 8 reported. The idea of departing from the US dollar as a reserve currency is by no means new to Russia. It was first entertained in the 1990s. By 2018, Moscow had devised a plan to de-dollarize its economy. Prior to the outbreak of Russia's war against Ukraine, February 24, Dmitry Medvedev stated that if the Kremlin's operations with the US dollars were to be restricted, Moscow could fully switch to the yuan and euro instead. However, following Russia's attack on Ukraine, the United States, the European Union, and other large economies have effectively barred Moscow from using their national currencies. As a result, aside from the Turkish lira, the United Arab Emirates, dirham, and an Indian rupee, each of which cannot be fully relied on due to the number of factors, Russia has been reduced to the use of the Chinese yuan as an alternative reserve currency to the US dollar and the euro. Growing popularity of the yuan in Russia reached an intermediate zenith August 2022 when sales of the Chinese currency skyrocketed. Importantly, business giants including Rosneft, Rusal, Polis, and Metal Invest dramatically increased their investments in yuan bonds, as stated by Alexander Frolov, Deputy Director of the National Energy Institute. It makes perfect sense for Rosneft and other resource-producing companies to strengthen cooperation with the Chinese side via increasing the yuan's use in their operations. This is according to the September 8 Nezavisnaya Gazeta. Yet, while many Russian experts and officials are applauding the decision to increase the yuan's use in financial operations, other experts and officials share serious doubts and concerns. For instance, during the Moscow Financial Forum, Russian Minister of Finance Anton Siluanov and Maxim Oreshkin, current economic advisor to Putin, disagreed on the yuan's role as a reserve currency. While the former stated that currencies of foreign friendly countries should become a key factor in diversification of assets, the latter disagreed, arguing that all monetary reserves must remain in Russia's national currency. Interestingly, even one of Russia's main proponents for de-dollarization, Andrei Kostin, chair of the VTB Bank Management Board, speaking at the Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok September 5 to 8, argued that while there are many positive aspects related to the use of the Chinese yuan, other negative aspects reveal the risks of over-reliance on the Chinese national currency, which is stipulated by distinctive features of Chinese financial legislation. From his side, well-known Russian economist Stanislav Mitrakovich indicates three main risks Russia could face when increasing reliance on the Chinese yuan. First, the Russian Federation does not have the necessary skills and infrastructure to work with the Chinese currency. Although manageable over the long term, for now the Russian financial system is ill-equipped and largely unprepared for the challenges of relying more on the yuan. Second, the high level of non-market regulations will make the process incredibly difficult. Unlike Russia's previous experience of dealing with foreign currencies, both the US dollar and euro are currencies of free market economies. The yuan's price is regulated by the Chinese state, and China, as we know, is communist. Thus, when in need, Beijing can easily manipulate the price of the yuan so to create favorable conditions for foreign trade. This could leave Russia as a hostage to Chinese interests. And third, despite China's growing trade power and economic might, the yuan has not yet become a fully independent currency, remaining tight in other leading global currencies. Thus, it should be remembered that, at least in the short term, the Chinese yuan will still be tight to the US dollar, meaning that the Chinese national currency might become an excellent investment tool for the future. For now, however, making a bet solely on the yuan could be a risky enterprise. Other Russian economists have also drawn attention to the fact that operations with the yuan could pose multiple risks. For instance, even ultra-conservative Russian information outlets have argued that the People's Bank of China, PBC, could easily devalue China's national currency, which could result in serious challenges for Beijing's partners who are investing in the yuan. Thus, despite its decreased volatility, the yuan remains a somewhat challenging investment tool whose exchange rate is almost fully dependent on the People's Bank of China, PBC. Interesting now, only after Russia was barred from operations with the US dollar and euro, Russian economists are starting to realize that it is much safer and more beneficial to work with transparent reserve currencies. For instance, Sofia Donitz, an economist at Renaissance Capital specializing on Russia, complained that if before Russian economists and finance experts could easily access and read all regulations in plain English, now working with the Chinese side, regulations are opaque and unclear. In truth, some of the challenges feared by Russian economists and finance experts regarding Russia's growing involvement with the yuan are coming true. The Russian side has been compelled to admit that Moscow's inquiry to China to strengthen their partnership in the realm of financial cooperation has not been strongly supported by Beijing. In effect, Chinese authorities are unwilling to change domestic regulations to allow its investors to operate with Russia-issued bonds. Instead, China is more comfortable with foreigners investing in its so-called panda bonds, which are sold only in the internal Chinese market. Moreover, Russian experts fear that with 17% of foreign exchange reserves in yuan, the Kremlin will not be able to pull money promptly when needed, thereby becoming trapped by China. This is according to the Moscow Times, September 4th, and this is by the Jamestown Foundation via oilprice.com on Zero Hedge. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.